Hey y'all, Stormgate dropped on Steam Next Fest today, which means that it's probably a good idea to go and start to take a look at some build orders to get you into that game and get you some basic idea about what you want to do. So this build is going to be Vanguard versus Infernals, or Infernals versus Vanguard. It's going to be a macro build, which gets you up to 2 or 3 bases as quickly, so you can start to play in the mid game. And it's a build that is kind of optimized for Broken Crown. Other maps are going to be a little bit harder to execute this on, so be on the lookout on the playlist up above to see some more map-specific builds that aren't going to work out here. Or you want some cheesy builds, those are going to show up as well. But for now, we're going to play the macro game. So as we get into this, the entire point of this build is to go and, again, get you into that macro game. So first, what we're going to do, we are going to go and we're going to build an imp, right? We're going to take advantage of that, of the charge that's there. And immediately afterwards, we're going to go and we're going to drop a vault here right in the main base, because you got to worry just a little bit as we're going to continuously build it. But you got to worry about the scout that's going to show up, which means we're going to drop a vault first. Gaunts don't handle early dogs, early scouts particularly well. And then we're going to go at 100 Luminite. We're going to go and we're going to build a conclave. Right here is fine. There are different arguments about SimCity, but you're going to want to have those gaunts out early, because what that means is you have conversion, you have that infest ready to go to be able to do damage over time to enemy units, to go things like that. So I've been calling this a 1-1 opener. It's a 10-9 opener, which means you get your first structure at 10 supply, your next structure at 9 supply, and you go like this. So you're continuing to go and you're building imps as much as you can as they come up, because of course it takes a little bit of time for the charges to pop up. And then at 12 supply, you're going to have a couple things you need to do. So first of all, you're going to go and you're going to build this next imp, brings you up to 12. And then very quickly, you're going to have this vault go up. By the way, at the same time, about 20% before the conclave's done, you're going to take 2 imps to start mining Therium, so you can get your first Gaunt out. Same time, Brute goes out on the map, but it's a single Brute. It's not going to do anything. And you'll notice we are supply blocked. So at that same time, I got slowed down because I'm trying to talk about this. At that same time, you're going to want to go. And you're going to want to build this meat farm, which does help quite a bit. And well, Gaunt's ready. So at this point, you are going to be supply gapped for just half a second, but you'll notice we're building up charges. It's not that big of a deal. You want to execute slightly better than I did, but I'm sorry, I was talking about it. Anyways, you're going to continue to build units here so you can get up to 2-1. Ideally to 2 Brutes and 2 Gaunts eventually. And what this is going to allow you to do is you're going to start to be able to creep on the map a little bit. And I know I said that this is a macro build, and it kind of is. It absolutely is. But, and anyway, you're gonna send a Gaunt over at 21 supply to go ish. I mean, themes are a little bit different. They mess with things, but you're gonna go over and drop this now, because your goal in creeping is A, to get your units, but B, as we're gonna go and put this shrine a little bit further forward so we can have an easier wall. B, your goal is to go and continue production, but B, make enough money on the map that you can go and get the shrine down. Now, that's not always going to be able to happen. Sometimes your opponent's going to open up with mass scouts, and that means that your presence on the map, your Gaunts are going to get dove. It's a little harder. You're going to have to respond to that. There are other options as well. But for the most part, again, this is how you're getting on it. You want to get the couple middle camps. If your opponent's playing more defensively, you should be able to get their resource camp. If they're playing aggressively, you can probably still get yours, but it's a little bit harder. And then you're going to continue to go like this. Notice I'm pretty far away from supply, so at 28, you're going to go and you're going to drop a supply, or you're going to drop a meat farm down to the natural. Actually, not right there. You're going to go and drop it on the wall. Because you are, as the Vanguard player, you're a little, or as the Infernal player, you are a little bit worried about different types of early aggression coming out from the Vanguard players. So you do want to be a little careful with that. Notice I've gone, and once I'm 12 out of 12, I've gone and sent my production over to the natural. I've sent my production over to my Therium mine, because you want to maximize Luminite production as much as possible, but you don't mine any more than 12. So I'm going to continue to build things. That's great, but I want to make sure that I can go and properly at least be mining something. So I'm going to continue to mine this, but my natural is now done. So in fact, I made a mistake there and I put them over, and I'm going to send them down to the natural, because the goal is to start to make things happen, is again to get that Luminite up as quickly as possible. Now, if you have map control, at this point, you see what I'm doing here. You should be sweeping the map. I took the enemy vision camp. I'm taking the aggressive speed camp. I'm not really macroing all that well, so yeah, I'm losing. That's unfortunate. That's fine. Again, I'm macroing behind this. My goal at this point is to go and get as many imps as possible. Now, I've actually slowed things down just a little bit because I am being slow and I'm kind of talking my way through this. But right around the 4-minute mark, and it's not really a supply mark because it's a little hard to justify. If you're more successful with your creep camp takes, you're going to have more fiends. Your supply's going to be a little different. But in general, right around that 350 to 4-minute mark, you're going to want to go and drop your third. Now, there are two ways you can take it, but with the build here, as we've gotten a Shroud Stone at our natural, kind of halfway through the shrine, it makes a lot of sense to go take this as our third base, right around that 4-minute mark. The Vanguard player is going to kind of be stuck on 2 bases. Their economy, for the most part, unless they're being very greedy or being very aggressive, is going to be pretty slow. So, here we are. We got our third base on the way. It's about 5 minutes in. Now, again, a little bit slow, a little bit faster than this, but once you have 200 Luminite, 100 Therium, and you're starting to saturate your natural pretty well, you should be looking to go and get your Greater Shrine. Now, what does the Greater Shrine do? Kind of important. It does give you a couple. It gives you a couple pretty nice things. First of all, it gives you access to the Doombringer, which is your first aggressive drop unit, and because you're going to be producing Thralls pretty much the entire time, you should be looking to go. By the time the Doombringer is ready, you're going to have about. You're not me and didn't lose one. You're going to have about 8 Thralls ready to go. So we're in the mid game. We've got our stuff. We want to be roughly at 2 production structures per base. So I'm on 2 bases right now. I'm saturating as I can. So which means I'm going to drop double Volk, double Conclave, because my money is going to start to go up a little bit. But I also want this Doombringer, because what this Doombringer does, so we're going to build a new hotkey here. What this Doombringer does is it's a dropship. It's very nice. So we're going to go and we're going to put all of our gaunts into this Doombringer. As we'll notice, I'm not macroing very well, but again, this is instructional. And this is going to be our dropship. I recommend putting it on 4 because 1 through 3 are auto hotkeys if you're using that, but 4 is separate. And this is going to be our first real blush of aggression on the map. Now, of course, when this Greater Shrine was done, what I should have done, and I didn't because, again, descriptors. But what you're also looking to do is you're going to look to drop a Conclave. Or not a Conclave, excuse me, a Shadow Cleft as quickly as possible, because what that unlocks for you is a couple things. It unlocks we're gonna speed this thing up a little bit. It unlocks Magmadons, which are really nice against the Vanguard early game. But what it also does is, well, it unlocks Magmadons in the early game. It unlocks Trample, which means the Magmadons, as they go forward, they start to stun. And we're gonna drop around here a little bit against my AI opponent. A bunch of Lancers in the main base. I don't really want to drop on top of that, but even still, it's keeping their army back home technically. But also, so it also unlocks Hellborn, which are a ranged attack, which a lot of people have been saying are not very good, which I disagree with. You got to be smart with them. But they can be very, very nice. Because what they do, of course, they're a little bit of extra damage on top, and they stay out of the way of your units that clump up a little bit more, right? Your Brutes and your Gaunts are going to go, and they're going to get up forward, and the Hellborns can sit behind. And you want to target the enemy Exos, of course, because they're a little bit... They actually take damage from the Hellborn. But once you're on 3 bases and fully saturated, you, of course, should be looking to take this base as much as I can. It does go forward a little bit, which is annoying, but take that as much as possible to go and really supercharge your Therium income. If you've taken this base and you can cut through these trees, you're going to have a Therium patch right there. But I like to do this because, again, with this drop, as we see the lights, they don't know what to do. Now, these will not kill this. But anyway, English is hard. You are really going to want to supercharge this, and because you have this Doombringer drop on the map by about 5 minutes or so, and because of everything else, you're going to have map control, which means you can start to supercharge things a little bit. And so once you're done with that third base, you should also add a Ritual Shrine. And what a Ritual Shrine does is that gives you access to Weavers. Weavers are probably the most important unit that you can get in the Infernal versus Vanguard matchup. Because what that allows it to do, and I can't really show this easily because we are against a... because we are, of course, against an AI player, so it doesn't really show us. But what this does, it allows us to abduct the high veterancy units and the expensive units, which are really important, because if you let a Bioball just kind of sit there and rank up and get medtech heals off and everything, you're not going to have a good time. But a lash does 60 damage. The Weaver does 10% of its opponent, of whatever units it's hitting, it does 10% of that's HP. So they're really good against things like medtechs or upgraded lancers that have a ton of HP, or Vulcans or things like that. And then you're going to go and you're going to keep macroing up. You're going to keep building more things as you're going to saturate. And when you take this 4th base, you should drop a bunch of Shroud Stones again. Just kind of make yourself safe. Take the right side when you feel comfortable, and start to try to slowly swallow the map. And of course, hold the middle of the map. I'm building a bunch of Weavers. Again, I've been talking a lot, so the build order is slowing down a little bit. But I would ideally have a lot more Therium than I have right now. Because I'm gonna just continue to saturate this a little bit, unsupply block myself, because hey, we're talking. But anyway, you're gonna want to build a bunch of Weavers. You're gonna want to have these Magmadons with their upgrade. You're gonna want to add the upgrade onto the Reaper Rush onto your Gaunts as well, which is really underrated, because that means you can actually run away from upgraded Lancers which want to dive on top of you, and then you play the game. So yeah, that's it. That's your macro opener. It's rather flexible because, if you're getting aggressed on, you're going to have to go, and your natural's going to be a little bit slower because you don't have the money on the map, but you're probably going to be able to get away with building a couple less units as you build your wall, and you rely on the Fell Hogs and the Shroud Stone to make that happen. If you're able to take the map, your 3rd base is going to be a little bit earlier. Oh, apparently I didn't know you can do that. Apparently you can't abduct creeps properly. You can do that. Now, the one final thing I will say is that you have this Animus at the top bar, and by far, the most important thing that you need to keep in mind if you're playing Infernals is this is your bigger income button. Hellspawn Resurgence is 25 Animus, so you don't get it at the very start, but you're going to want to be spamming this on your shrines to get as many imps out as possible, as fast as possible, to boom your economy just at ASAP. Now notice I've been not macroing anymore, but I can saturate this very quickly, right, by doing this. And this allows you to it allows you to really take advantage of any sort of Vanguard inefficiencies that are happening in any sort of slow progression. And then, from there, you're building this bigger army. You're going to want to continue to macro. It's roughly, you want about 2 production structures per base. So if I'm on 3 bases, that's maybe 3 Vaults, 3 Conclaves. That's generally a decent amount. And you can kind of make up for the flow. Like if you need more Brutes, you can go and you can drop a couple of Resurgence charges on them to get those Brutes out, or Magmadons out. If you need more Weavers, you can make that happen. Need more Gaunts, and eventually you'll kind of find a point where you're really mining more than 2 production structures per base, and at that point, just drop them down, drop whatever you think you need, because the game's going late at that point, and you're building banks, and you care more about being able to resupply in the fight rather than spending all the money as you get it. So yeah, that's the build. Go out there, destroy the ladder. It's gonna be good.